When it comes to instruments that we play as percussionists, grip is the first thing that I talk about. Next is body position, then sound production and all of that. Whether it's snare drum, mallets, timpani, crash cymbals, all of that, the grip is almost identical across the board. Yes, there are minute changes because crash cymbals are not the same as timpani, but when it comes to the grip, it's very, very similar. So I start with snare drum, just like you would do in your beginning percussion classes. And what we're going to do first is grab one stick and your right hand. So far, so good. Now, what we're going to do is take the shaft of the stick, which is here, and your index finger, first joint, and we're going to lay the shaft of the stick across the index finger like so. Now we're going to take the thumbprint part of our thumb, and we're going to lay it on top of the shaft, as if I was to take a needle and stick it through the thumbnail. It would go through the thumbnail, the finger, the shaft, and the first joint, creating a fulcrum. Please, do not grab a needle. Don't do that. I use violence as a teaching tool. Probably going to get fired now. Anyway, so that's our fulcrum. And now we take our three fingers here, and we're going to wrap them around like so, with a little bit of the stick hanging out the back. Now, this little bit is important. I don't teach that the stick is an extension of our arm. That's a valid way to teach. It's just not my style. I teach that it comes off to the side, like most of you guys. So you want to have about an inch or so hanging out. If you're looking like this, make it look like that. Cool? Now, the next thing is to match our sticks. Yes, it's called match grip. Percussionists are pretty clever. However, our goal is just like any other instrument, to produce even sounds. Evenness in sound, evenness in stroke, all of that. So to do that, there's one way that I came up with to really make sure that your sticks are matched. So you're going to replicate everything you did with your right hand, do it with your left. So far, so good. Now we're going to put the sticks together and line up the thumbnails here. Okay? Once our thumbnails are lined up, we're going to line up the butts of the stick. If our butts are looking like this, fix that. Just like so. And the tip will be the same. If your sticks are perfectly matched, this is the last step before you put them on the head to make sure that you're going to have evenness of sound. So, after this, the next step that I do is creating a V or arrowhead with my sticks. And I even make a little checkoff list on my students' pages, especially beginners. Number 1 is always grip. Number 2 is always to match the grip. And number 3 is the V or arrowhead. And I actually draw a V with a circle around it because that circle kind of looks like a snare drum, and the V will look exactly like this. So some players teach that you should play in the same spot on the drum. I don't do that. I just don't do that. All right, next what I do is I make sure that the sticks are not in the same spot, mostly because of that, and I spread them about a quarter's width apart, as if you actually put a quarter down on the drum. So at this point, our sticks are on the drum. We have an arrowhead. They're perfectly matched, and our hands look about the same. Once the sticks are on the drum and you've done all these things, the last thing I do is I say 2 things to the student. First, if I was to take a dotted line from the palm of one hand and draw it, it should aim towards the opposite foot. So with my right hand, if I drew a dotted line with the stick on the drum, it will go towards my left foot. And the opposite, my left hand, will go towards my right foot. So that means that things are about at this kind of angle, like so. Another one that kind of works is that if you take a dotted line from your thumbnail, it should head towards your opposite eye or ear, somewhere over in this area right here. I'm trying not to hit myself. The goal here is to make sure we don't have flat hands and we don't have this French style thumbs up towards the ceiling, just like so. So, a checkoff list so far. And I do this with all of my students, as I mentioned, with a list. Doesn't matter where they are in their studies. First things first, you get the grip down. Second thing, you match the grip to the opposite hand, checking the thumbnails and checking your butts. Then you create a V or an arrowhead. That arrowhead now is not the same. It's split about a quarter's width apart. Then we have our dotted line running from the palm of our hand to the opposite foot, or from the thumbnail to somewhere up in this region